ask you 73 questions?
Sure.
How are you today?
Fine.
How's your week been?
It's been good.
What did you eat for breakfast today?
Nothing. Coffee. Always coffee.
What is something that always makes you smile?
My students. My students make me smile. They're funny.
At what point in your life did you feel the most free?
Probably before the age of 10 and during my college years, before I had any real responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you wish you were better at?
Math. I'm horrible at math. Yeah.
How do you spend your free time when you're not working?
I do a lot of grading at home, so that's not really free time. I suppose if you're talking about free time besides grading, I do gardening. I read a lot. I play the piano. I go out with friends. That's the bulk of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is your favorite book?
My favorite book. I have lots of books that are favorites. The Orphan Master's Son is one of my favorites. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I've always loved To Kill a Mockingbird. I taught it for years, and I found something new in it every time. So that's kind of like a classic favorite that I have. But I mean, there are just so many that are out there. I just recently read one called Educated. It's a memoir, and it was fabulous. So I do recommend that everybody read that, especially if they're not into nonfiction. Nonfiction can be really entertaining. I think a lot of people don't realize that. That's one that, if you've never read nonfiction, dip your foot in it. Try that one.
If you were to write a book, what kind would it be?
It would probably be a memoir. If it were a book, I'm probably more inclined to write shorter pieces, like essays, reflections, things like that. So,
Mm-hmm. Would you rather live in the wilderness far away from civilization or live on the streets of a city as the homeless person?
In the wilderness, far away from civilization. Mm-hmm. I like my alone time. Yeah.
If you were a ghost, who would you haunt?
My sister, because it would be funny.
Yeah.
We have that kind of a relationship.
If there were a holiday about you, what kind of celebration would it be?
Holiday about me? I don't know. It would have something to do with my nickname, though. The whole Savage Susan thing, because people have taken that really far. In fact, I just heard yesterday that Mr. Gibson compared me to Margaret Thatcher after showing his students a clip of Margaret Thatcher. So it would have something to do with that.
What's the story behind Savage Susan?
It's a long story. It's too long to tell here. Yeah.
What is the worst thing you've ever purchased?
Oh gosh, I've purchased a lot of really bad things. I would say a treadmill because I don't use it except to hang clothes on. So.
Yeah. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I don't think I would want a superpower. I think that would be like a doorway into an abuse of a superpower. So I think I would just rather not.
How would you describe your sense of humor?
Sarcastic all the time.
What is something you avoid at all costs?
Math.
What is your favorite movie?
I don't have a favorite movie. I don't have favorite anythings, really. I just like different things at different times, whatever strikes my mood.
What's a song that you're really liking right now?
A song that I'm liking right now? I'm kind of into musicals right now, and The Greatest Showman is one of my favorites, and so I like This Is Me. Yeah, that's a song that I'm really liking right now.
Are you in favor of using Oxford commas or not using
Oxford commas, all the way.
If your life were summed up on a license plate, what would it say?
I did it my way. It's very Frank Sinatra-ish, but it's me.
Would you rather be the most funny person in the room or the most intelligent?
Intelligent.
What's the best advice that you've ever received?
I've gotten a lot of good advice. I think, I don't know, I've gotten advice to, I guess for my mom, just not worry about what others think of you, which I know is really hard when you're young, but when you're older and you can really start taking that to heart, I think it's a really good thing to not listen to what other people say about you.
And what's the best advice you've ever given someone?
I don't know. I give advice all the time, whether people ask for it or not. So maybe to wash your hands after going to the bathroom. I say that every day.
What is the best thing that has ever happened to you?
My kids. Having my kids.
If you were a vegetable, what kind of vegetable would you be?
A carrot. Carrots are great. They're full of beta-carotene and they taste good. I love carrots.
When you eat tacos, do you turn your head or do you turn the taco?
I turn my head because if you turn the taco, everything falls out. It's a problem.
What is the worst thing that you ever did as a child and got away with?
I never got away with anything. My parents were really on top of it. But I sold stuff to my sisters after getting Christmas money, and I sold it out of the trash can, actually, but I got busted. So much for entrepreneurship.
If you were to get a tattoo, what tattoo would you get?
I wouldn't get a tattoo.
What is the worst job that you've ever had?
Working at a movie theater.
What is your favorite kind of pepper?
Just regular, like peppercorn pepper. I don't like peppers other than that. Yeah.
What commercial jingle gets stuck in your head the most?
I don't have a commercial jingle that gets stuck in my head. I'm trying to think of one right now, and I can't really think of one.
Okay. If the zombie apocalypse was coming, which 3 teachers would you pick to fight with you?
Gibson, Lanini, and Mason.
What is the first concert that you ever went to?
I went to ABBA, like the real ABBA. I know, I'm dating myself here. But yeah, I went to ABBA. I think I was maybe 15 years old.
That's cool. What is a Thanksgiving tradition that you have?
The whole family comes to my house, and I cook dinner for everybody, and I don't know, we just do the same food every year, and everybody just kind of hangs out and talks about all the horrible things that we did to each other when we were little, and it's funny now, even though it wasn't back then. So that's kind of like our tradition.
If someone was playing you in a movie about your life, who would you want to play you?
Sandra Bullock.
What is your favorite memory?
My favorite memory is spending time. I lived with my grandmother a lot in a little town called Cunningham, Kansas. Blink and you miss it. When I was growing up, because I was an Air Force brat, so in between moves, I would live with my grandmother, and those are the best memories for me.
Yeah. What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Just to have more confidence in myself, not to doubt myself so much.
What is something that you believed earlier in your career that you don't believe now?
Gosh, that's a tough one. I remember when I had my first job interview, and it was a panel interview, and an interviewer asked me if a school could ever become too student-centric, and I said no, because that's what we're there for. We're there for the students. And then I moved to Kansas, and the school there was so student-centric that they forgot about the teachers and the other people, the support people who are the ones out in the trenches, who are working with the students, and that's when I realized that the school it's a symbiotic relationship. So I guess that's one thing that I used to believe that I don't believe anymore.
What's something that you used to believe that you still believe?
Oh gosh, there are a lot of things. I believe in the value of getting in here and working with young people and making this world a better place through education. You know, and it's all about, you know, how much you give of yourself, and the teachers should be here for students. They, you know, if you don't love it, you shouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
If you didn't have time to sleep, what would you do with the extra time? Or if you didn't have to sleep?
Oh, if I didn't have
Yeah.
to sleep? I'd probably practice piano more, because I started off as a piano major and I've lost a lot.
Mm-hmm. What is your guilty pleasure?
Chocolate.
Mm-hmm. What would you become famous for?
Oh gosh, I wouldn't want to be famous. I think that's kind of a curse.
Mm-hmm. Would you rather live by yourself or with a person who talks every single moment?
By myself.
Mm-hmm. What is a misconception that people have about you?
I think a misconception a lot of people have about me is that I'm mean, because I am strict in the classroom. I know my students always tell me at the beginning of the year they were afraid of me. I think that once people get to know me, they actually know I have a pretty big heart.
If you had to dye your hair any color, what color would you dye it?
I don't dye my hair, ever.
What are two truths and a lie about yourself?
Two truths and a lie. I used to run a newspaper, manage a newspaper, before I became a teacher. I originally wanted to go to college to become a marine biologist, and I was a professional dancer for a while.
If you could prank any faculty member at Freedom, who would you prank?
Mr. Fulton.
What is your favorite dance?
My favorite dance?
Mm-hmm.
To do or
Yeah.
to watch?
Either.
I would have to say ballet.
What is the best thing you've ever done in your life?
Best thing I've ever done in my life? Me personally? I'm really proud of what I've done with teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've developed a really good curriculum, and I'm very proud of that.
Mm-hmm. What do you want your legacy to be?
You know, I haven't really thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you rather be a crab or a lobster?
Well, they're both bottom feeders.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a lobster.
Okay. And tell me your whole life story in 30 seconds.
My whole life story?
30 seconds. Go.
30 seconds. Okay. I was born in California. I moved to probably 6 different states because of my dad being in the military. I got married out of college and had 2 kids. I've moved to several different states since then, so I've taught in 4 different school districts. Now I'm here in Virginia. Ta-da!
Perfect. Okay. What is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life is to do the best you can, be kind to the people that you meet, and leave this world feeling good about what you've done.
And who do you want to do 73 questions next?
I would like Mr. Tremblay to do the next 73 questions.